Mr. Cropper has a school, and he's asking for help, for financial help for some of his students. And it's a funny thing, when Mr. Cropper first said he was starting a school or wanted to start a school and then was, my immediate reaction was a biased reaction that, since he's an objectivist and I disagree with him in so many ways, obviously the automatic reaction is to think, oh my God, he's going to be teaching children all this. But, I try to be open minded. And the fact of the matter is that, I looked closely, and before I made that knee jerk reaction, I, um, I went ahead and I watched more closely. And the thing is, Mr. Cropper has a great attitude about kids. He thinks that they need time to play. He thinks that the schools don't take their own responsibility in how the kids are taught, and that there's an overly institutionalized attitude. And, Mr. Cropper seems to want to give not just individual time to the students, but also treat them as individuals if they learn differently to try to deal with that. And so I have a weak spot for Mr. Cropper. I'm starting to think, he's the kind of people, you have some quirky teachers, when you grow up, some teachers are good, and some of the quirky ones that kind of have some funny ideas, they can be the best teachers if, when you get down to their actual philosophy, they're real, there's a built-in compassion to it. And I sort of feel that way about Mr. Cropper. To tell you the truth, I'd like to send some money and help to help the student of Mr. Cropper's, but I'm not very inclined to do that. And I was thinking maybe I could do it if I would get something tangible, just because he is an objectivist, and you know I'm really interested when objectivists ask for something like that where there's no obvious sense of the word selfish that we know that explains why you would help do that. I mean, it's at very best it's indirect, and I'm not the kind of person that says automatically you're an objectivist, you can't ask for that. I more look at it like, well, you identify as an objectivist, and you also think that it makes sense to ask people to do this when they'll get nothing in return. So tell me how you rectify those two philosophies, because I'm fine with the idea that maybe objectivists do know how to see the greater benefit, because if there's some reason that people should give money to that, then there's no reason people couldn't join together and say, hey, listen, we're going to all give fees for education for all of our children. And in a way, I think that's the kind of union we have formed. It's like, well, we're going to pool money for various social services, and there's really no reason that we can't have a society where we do that. So, the issue of it being done voluntarily is sort of like, well, these institutions last more than one generation. If 100 people got together and said, listen, we're going to voluntarily give fees, you could call it taxation or not, we're going to do that, and we're going to make a public school system. Then somebody's born into that system, and they don't want to be a part of the system. Are they bound to the agreement of the people that created the system, or not? But so I was thinking, well, maybe if there was something material, like I was thinking, if I give a donation, maybe I should be able to get something back, like at some future date, be able to give a talk at Mr. Cropper's school. So, which I would wait until the school was really super popular, and someday I could see and going there, and it might be, good after I'd seen how that school developed, to be able to have a speaking opportunity there, or I don't know, something that's more of an exchange of the type that Ayn Rand, endorses. She endorses, the idea of exchanging your money for something of direct value to you personally. So, but I do have a soft spot for Mr. Cropper because of his attitude towards kids. Really, just his attitudes and just how frustrated he is that other people don't understand that, geez, these kids can't do homework all day. They should be taught. That should be their school time. And then for God darn sake, they should be able to play. And he's such a good advocate for the child's point of view about learning that, I can't help but sort of like Mr. Cropper a little bit for that, more than I did before I saw this whole part of himself. But another weakness for me is I have a weakness when somebody is acting out on their dream and their ideas. So, but anyway, I find it an interesting thing, and I'm not inclined to say, oh, objectivists can't explain this kind of what other people would call charity. quite the opposite. I want them to explain how it's not charity, because I don't think that social services are charity. I think they're things we do so that we can live in a better society, and that's a direct benefit to us, pretty direct. But a lot of people would call it indirect, and so we need arguments and from various philosophical standpoints to explain why, when we have those philosophies, we ask for something that, at least prima facie, our philosophy does not well support.